long time ago, in 1958, I went with a team of 5 others to Spitsbergen, right up in the Arctic. And we went up by a coal boat, which is now lowering our specially made little boat we had built in Bergen in Norway. And we have arrived at their main city in the island. We had with us this little dinghy which we persuaded a company to give us, and it was invaluable for drawing out to the boat. That's Brian doing some sketching. He'd rather draw than take a camera with him, he said. Don filling boxes with food to keep at the base. We used this boat to travel up and down the fjord and collect rock samples in various places. It was a little semi-diesel boat with a variable pitch propeller. A super little thing, about 22 foot long. And we were going up Ice Fjord, and eventually we hit a lot of ice floes. It was about June now, early June in 1958. This is on another trip with Arthur, who's the boat expert, and Don, the geologist, and Taffy, another member. And when we got amongst the ice floes, it used to be quite interesting to push the ice away, and sometimes it got too thick for us to move. Arthur is trying to push off from the ice. And eventually we arrived at the base where we were to start our land journey. There was an old whaler's hut called Scotty Hut, where in the 18th century and 19th century the whalers used to come up here and had a base. The whole team at Scotty Hut. On the left, Don, Taffy, Lynn, myself, Brian and Arthur. We had 2 specially made sledges which made of aluminium and with runners coated in PTFE, which were quite advanced at the time. We were unloading a load of stuff to take up the glacier to the top and over the glacier down to the next glacier. Who's that? Oh, Lynn, the tall one on the boat. That's Taff lugging a large kit bag of stuff, and these boxes we used stored at the hut to put in the rocks we brought back from the trip and to take back to England. We had a Colt 45 revolver to shoot polar bears if they needed to be. We didn't ever see one. We did see muskox at a distance. In our final stage, we spent a happy afternoon trying to shoot duck from our boat with this revolver. I never hit any of them. This is the bottom of the glacier where you get a lot of moraines. Stones, broken stones that are brought down by the glacier. It took quite a while to get all our stuff to this base. Keeping us fit it was. Those are our skis, which we were to travel up on, and Brian, our doctor, and Arthur having a snack during a stop on the slopes. Lynn was forever worrying about where we were going and was responsible for navigation. We had some funny moments. Looking back across the water we'd come through, you can see the glacier, and it's a long way up, and we pulled these sledges which were weighing 600 pounds each, and there were 3 to a sledge and 3 to a tent. We had to travel way up this long glacier, which was quite steep at times, and travelling was very slow. We had using compasses to determine where we were, and at the top it goes very flat. The whole area was a lovely flat ice field. When we stopped for the night, we had these homemade shovels to clear the snow for a flat section for the tent. We cooked with primer stoves in this old biscuit boxes, worked very well indeed. We were living on dehydrated food, which the government had developed for the armed forces. It was experimental and brilliant. I think that's frozen sprouts, or dried sprouts rather, that are cooking there. Ice cream was one of our favourite dishes. We made this from snow and Nescafe or orange crystals or lemon crystals, made lovely ice cream. The food was special freeze-dried stuff the Ministry of Health or Ministry of Food had developed, and they were quite keen to give it away to expeditions to try it out. And the selection we had was super. We had a large tin about 6 inches diameter and about 12 inches long of dried carrots. Well, that lasted 5 weeks for the 6 of us, and we never got tired of them. And there was good meat and steaks and peas and beans and all sorts. It was lovely stuff, even bananas and raspberries, all freeze-dried. We pegged out our tents, which had sewn-in ground sheets. They were that's my tent. It is very similar to the ones used on Everest for the 1953 expedition. Putting the sleeping bags and lot inside. There were 2 tents. Arthur and Brian and I were in one, and Lynn and Taff and Don were in the other one. We got on very well. Our tent particularly, Arthur and Brian and myself, well, we thought we were better off than Lynn's, who was a bit more pedantic and short on humour on occasions, but we got on all together really very well. And on occasions the sun came out and we had some lovely summer days. That's just me taking the photos, or some photos. The still camera I bought about 3 years before for my trip to Australia, and it was a Reed and Sigrist copy of the Leica, funded by the British government at the end of the war to produce as good a camera. And it had Taylor Hobson lenses and was excellent. And I've still got it somewhere. Oh no, Mike's got it. This is a journey from one of the campsites. So go and explore and pick up some rocks up the cliff face. These rocks were used to take back to England to measure their magnetism, and which could give us a guide to whether the continents were actually moving. Unfortunately, my boots were too tight, so I found, rather painfully, so I wore the mucklucks. Mucklucks are those white canvas boots with rubber soles, which the Eskimos use, and you have a felt sole in the bottom, and they're quite comfortable and flexible and fitted onto the skis superbly. We were going to collect rocks to study their inbuilt magnetism, which was all part of an international study, trying to establish whether the continents actually drifted. Surprisingly, in 1958, and it is surprising, the majority of geologists did not believe in this theory. And you carefully select a rock that you think is appropriate and in due course hammer it and break it off. These are the two of us holding us on ropes so we didn't slide further down. Taff doing a back compass measurement to the other one. The thing we missed most was a chair. And when we came back to England, we didn't half appreciate them. Quite chilly it was, had to keep their feet moving. Here we are, Taff decided we'll have that bit of rock, and Don keeps the detailed records. The clothing we wore was it was called Ventile for our anoraks, which was just been developed really and was very windproof but allowed you to perspire through it. It was pioneering material, it was very useful. He's got a little drill which we use a template to mark 3 marks on the rock, which he's now doing. He's knocking that template, and where those are he drills a little hole so the base of the astro compass can fit into them. This means we can measure precisely the angle and the position of these rocks in space. After an hour or so up there, or a bit longer probably, we go down back to camp. Lovely clean air and clean snow, none of your smog up here. Well, we had sun all day and night. We soon got used to it. The main problem was, if you travel in the day, the snow has got softer and it's harder work. So we often travelled at night. And the only problem was that transferring from day travel, which was suitable in some occasions, and night travel, it took a little while to get used to that. Not very long, but we did it a few times. We brought the rocks back. We have to pack them up in kit bags to take back to the base and eventually back to Cambridge. For a period over the top of the ice field, the sun came out and we had a lovely time. We could even sledge in our shirt sleeves. Filming on skis can have its problems, particularly if you get the skis mixed up with a tripod. The main problem was pulling the sledges down the Northern Skjold Glacier in the time we'd been away, it had melted and frozen, and it was like a frozen sea with a wave height of about 3 to 5 foot. So we were forever going up and down and up and down, and that proved quite difficult at times. But it was downhill. Here's one of our tents. We built walls around the tents to protect it from the high winds. We had one hot meal in an evening. Lunchtime we usually ate McVitie wheat biscuits. We had to go up the Nordenskjöld Glacier twice, taking goods to our depot on the ice field and down again. On the first trip up, Brian lost a big sheath knife. We never thought we'd see it again. But lo and behold, on the second time up, and it's a big glacier, we came across it. So he was very pleased. Again, when we were back up the glacier, we were on a high point between the two glaciers, and it got very windy, and we built these snow walls around the tent.